What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster in chief. And today in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you from position 1488 in Mythic rank. I'm pushing, I'm going up, and my plan is to try and make an attempt at getting into the top. Get the 1,000 or 1,200 that I need to be in to get the qualifier invitation thingy. I really want to bring you guys that content of like my journey if I can get one of those. It wouldn't be my first time, it would be my second time. So and you know, the first time was before I started the channel, so it would be really good, I think, both for me because I feel somehow justified as a player, but then at the same time to bring you guys that content as I try and you know, I'll record my attempts if I do get in. So that's why that was just a very long-winded way of saying that today's deck will not be played in rank, because I know that I will not win with the deck that I'm trying to push with. Like, if you really want to be in the top 1,200, you have to play meta decks, and that's just the way it is, and it shouldn't be any other way. You know, especially this late in a format, there's not going to be a anti-meta or meta busting deck that's going to come out of the left field and surprise everybody. It's pretty much set, so you're going to play one of those and try and win. I mean, there's still a little bit of stuff happening in Alchemy, minor adjustments and a few changes here and there, but ultimately standard is like as fixed as a format can get in the top Mythic section. And you can see that if you have the premium subscription to Untapped GG, and even if you have the free one, I believe you can check the you can basically set a filter of like where your data is being collected from. Is it like all the way from bronze to Mythic? And you can shrink that right down and just have it as only Mythic, and the suddenly the number of decks that are played it just shrinks. There's only like 2 or 3 different decks with much less games being played. That obviously means there's less people with Untapped GG, like in general, that are playing in that top section. There's probably a lot of guys that run different deck trackers or whatever, but still, it's very telling. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The options for today were going to be either of these 4 at the top. They all show promise as like potential, you know, when things shift a little bit, new cards come out. I'm tempted to give Azorius Flash a whirl, but I think that's actually got more potential than I'm giving it credit for. So I might keep that for a later video and just work on it a little bit more after today. So what we're actually going to end up playing is just some good old-fashioned Simic Ramp that I've like done some, you know, brew labifications to. So without further ado, let's jump into the brew. It's typical ramp deck, right? You've got your Tangled Florahedrons, your Rootcoil Creepers, your Quandrix Cultivators, and that sort of stuff. But then what are you ramping into? And, you know, other than Koma, the Cosmos Serpent, which is, you know, I've even got in my deck. It's one of the best Simic creatures that you can be ramping into right now, and still is. Just fallen off a little bit, I guess, because it's a bit slow, and other decks are just, you know, better at the moment. But I'm giving it a whirl. I played it against a guy who had a very similar thing going on here, and I made it my own. The deck I played against did not have Glorious Sunrise, which I'm just loving more and more the more I play with this card. I'm trying to find a way to squeeze in a 4th copy, but 3 is actually probably the sweet spot, because you don't want to start like with your opening hand that has 2 5-drops, and then it's a little bit clunky. So 3 is probably the right number in any good matchup. And the other new thing that we're ramping into is the Hallowhenge Huntmaster. And the problem here is this. I was having some mana issues. I've now fixed them. I've gone up to 26 lands. So I think I'm going to remove these Tangled Florahedrons and go back to the initial plan. And I'll explain. We want to start the day-night cycle with the Wolves early in the game, and this little guy is perfect for that, because it's a 2-drop and it can draw you some cards, and you can maybe like play on turn 3, play a land, say go, hold up a counter spell or a draw spell, which are 3-drops, are composed of, and it'll then switch to nighttime. And from that point in the game, you're playing a very kind of reactive, bouncing with Fading Hope, countering, drawing some cards, trying to build up your mana until you can play the Hallowhenge Huntmaster on its night side as it comes into play. That's because even if you only have a Suspicious Stowaway, a Rootcoil Creeper, a Quandrix Cultivator, and that's about it in play, and then this guy comes in. Other permanents you control, first of all, that's all permanent. So no more land destruction, no more Field of Ruin on your creature lands, like none of your anything, all your permanents have hexproof. But then at the beginning of combat on your turn, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Swing! And then if you've got Glorious Sunrise in, what's gotten me down this trip is like these things that are triggering at the beginning of combat on your turn. There's a few of them that they've printed of late, and mostly in green. And it makes for this really explosive, like, one-turn kill. And so yeah, you pick the third option down. I beg your pardon. Second option. First option. Need to get glasses, I think. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. So not only have you given them all +2/+2 from the Huntmaster, you give them an additional +1/+1 and everybody gets trample. Even if it's these little guys, it's pretty quickly gets completely out of hand. The cherry on top is some copies of Outland's Epiphany. I know I feel gross just playing it, but it just fits. And like, if you're gonna be playing blue in this format right now, you need to play these powerful cards. Otherwise, it's just like, what are you doing? You're just gonna get out aggroed or out long gamed by the control decks. So I went with 3 copies of Outland's Epiphany, and if you can hit that and do the Huntmaster, triggers a couple of times in a row on your own team without your opponent being able to do anything, that's game ending. And of course, if you've got Koma in play, all the little coils get the +1/+1 counters, Koma itself gets the +1/+1 counters, and everything has hexproof the entire freaking time. You just like kind of manipulate this nighttime. You try and keep it night from that point onwards, and it's 1 or 2 turns with that on the board is the end of the game. And of course, the turn after you've cast Outland's Epiphany, even the little birds get the +2/+2. It's usually only need to cast 1 Owl Runes, and it's GG. We're gaining a bit of life with the last option on Glorious Sunrise. We are drawing a bit of cards with the same with the second last option, and sometimes we use the second option as ramp, which is really, really nice. Card draw is done via the Suspicious Stowaway and Thirst for Discovery, which is great. We've got 26 lands. That's why I had to up the land count from my usual 24. Because then you can just discard a basic land, and you've just drawn 3 for 3 mana, and only discard a land. That's really, really good. It sucks when you have to discard 2. Then it's the card's obviously a lot worse. But in this type of deck, it fits perfectly. And I still just prefer a nice hard counter at 3 mana that can be cast for 2. I still think of all the new counter spells that have come out of late, Sword Coming is still my favorite, blue 3 mana counter spell. And it's been a long time since I've played any counter spells, so I'm kind of like pretty excited. And there's not just the one, there's the 2. Decisive Denial, and I'm trying to think of a way, maybe we could just do this. Let's see, let's play a couple games as it is now and then make the usual adjustments along the way. But Decisive Denial can be a counter non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3, which is really good. But it also, we can have it be a fight spell, which is sometimes great with these big creatures we end up getting. You just get rid of an opponent's. It's the only little bit of actual removal we have in the deck. All right, so that's the brew. We've got 1 hall, 1 layer, 2 fields, the usual set of dual lands, and then 14 basics, which is also great with Quandrix Cultivator. Fetches a basic, blah de blah de blah. The only thing that is maybe being underutilized is the Rootcoil Creeper, because we can never use the second thing where we return card with flashback. There's no cards with flashback. So this might be you know, there's other mana dorks on the 2-drop slot that, you know, can ramp you. I could even just, again, put the Florahedron in and increase the land count with MDFCs. Essentially does the same thing as far as our deck is concerned. Again, we'll make some adjustments along the way if necessary. But that's the brew. Let's jump into some games. By the way, cheers. It's really hot in South Africa. An ice cold cider. Just walked my son in the sun in this pram to get him to sleep around the friggin' block, like a long block, and it's hot. This cider is going down like. All right, Simic Ramp. As usual, at this point in my videos is when I like to do a tiny bit of self-promotion. So if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, kindly consider doing so. And yeah, there's going to be a giveaway triggered at 500 subs. So if you want to take part, you need to be subscribed. And then, of course, if you could be so kind, do all that other good YouTube stuff. Leave me some comments. I love to read your comments. And how's this hand? Don't like this hand. Hit the like button, please. That's really easy and free. And if you do want to be notified of future daily uploads, then there's the little bell icon. I'm sure you know about that one. Alright, unranked. Pretty wonky starting hand. Red burn, or just a guy who wants to scry. Mr. Red Eyes Devil. Someone's been partaking. It's a long scry. It's the deal with unranked. Sometimes it's also full of people with bad internet connections from third world countries and stuff like that. Apologies to anyone, you know, that you know who you are. I've lived in many of them through the years. It's internet just disappears for no reason for a little while and then comes back again. Do we just concede? I think we can wait. Go. Well, that's plenty mana. Kind of want to get the Suspicious Stowaway, but I think this opponent has left the building. I'm gonna wait for that. In unranked, also the beauty. I can just quit. Don't have to wait for the ropers when I know it's not. That guy wasn't even roping. He just clearly had some connection problems. One stowaway, you can already see your hand like via the deck tracker before the screen turns, you know. That's an epic opener. That's fan-bloody-tastico. Hello, good game. As soon as I make some cash, I'm gonna buy some of the, invest in some of those other thingies, emotes. Okay. This guarantees a turn 3 cultivator. Another land. I'd really like something to block with. In the air, we've got Unfortunately, none of that happening right now. So then we just need to bounce. Bouncy, bouncy. Anyway, silly life gain shenanigans shouldn't be too worrying. That's pretty bad. Huh. Epiphany, huh? Gotta keep him away from 27. And, yeah, I think... Oh, great. Oh, that's, pretty disastrous. This card is so overpowered. I've got an Angel's Brew that is, waiting to be played. Coming soon. Okay. That's great. Bazinga. And then I think we're just gonna have to maybe do this and hope for another Fading Hope. Maybe. Okay. Thin the deck out a bit. Ooh. So to draw a card with this card, we need the card to be, we need to have a thing with power 3 or greater. So that's great. Quandrix Cultivator is that just standard, which is fantastic. Fantastic. But before we get anything with 6 power, I think we'll just have to get rid of the Ass Pirate. Bye-bye. At least it'll stop growing and maybe just gain a bit of life. Hoping he'd just swing with the 1. We're running out of flying blockers. Oak. Are you kidding me? You've got to be joking. 3 lands in a row. That's the problem with playing 26 lands. But then, like, I tried it before and I was just, complete, absolute nightmare. Nah, that's game. It's game because you can give the other one 7. I've only got 1 flyer. Pity. Righteous Valkyrie, ladies and gentlemen. Applaud the absolute ingenuity of the opponent. Coming up with something so original, so fresh. We could even just make this video about like just do a couple of different brews, play a few games, check out a few things, because I'm struggling for ideas. Part of the point I made at the beginning of the video is that like it's really tough to come up with like new good stuff every day. That actually gets wins. Start that day-night cycle. But potentially 2 of these. They're non-legendary, of course. Oh, yippee! Yeah. Oh yeah, Kasha. Terribly sorry. That ain't gonna do jack shit. My word. Come on, another unnatural growth. Gosh darn it. That's very problematic. I'm afraid you do not have 3 to pay, my dear Tomo. But that doesn't really change my situation. It's still pretty dire. Come on. Okay, flooding like crazy. Deck sucks. Let's switch it up to another Simic brew that I had saved just for this exact reason. So, I had a couple of good wins with this one, but I don't know. Even the lamest kind of... I guess the only thing I could do that would change things is to put divide by 0 in here and have a lesson board and go a little bit more kind of usual rampy stuff. But, you know, it's been done. I even have videos just like that on the channel. So let's have a look at Jadzy's Frogs. This is another one that I just came up with. We're trying to use Grolnok. First time using Grolnok. I'm just going through cards that I haven't used yet from the new set and trying to do build-arounds. Whenever a frog you control attacks, you mill 3 cards. So you self-mill. Whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from your library, you exile it with a croak counter on it, and you may play lands and cast spells from among cards you own in exile with croak counters on them. So even if you're milling, it's kind of just like drawing 3. Because those cards just end up there, you'll be able to see them and you can just play them and everything. So pretty cool. I think that's pretty amazing card advantage. I never quite saw it that way. I guess I didn't read the card very well when it first came out. But we have, of course, got a few frogs. It's not just Grolnok attacking. It's Orvar, who is a shapeshifter, which it means, you know, all creature types, so he's also a frog. And then Froghemoth is, of course, a frog. And this is a really good one because it's on curve. You know, you play your Grolnok turn 4, you play your Froghemoth turn 5, It's got haste. You attack. It triggers the Growl Knock. You do the mill thingy. You get some stuff to play with Croak counters on them, and you get in for 4 and potentially grow your Froghemoth. For those of you who haven't played this card yet, basically, for however many damage you get through to the opponent, you look at their graveyard and you exile cards from the graveyard. And if you exile a creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on Froghemoth. If you exile a non-creature, you gain a life. So it can be really nice, actually. I need to play this card more. I think it's underplayed. It's really fun. Maybe in a Gruul deck that I have an idea for brewing. So the rest is just stuff that's helping us get to this beautiful moment where we have these frogs attacking and we're milling ourselves and getting all these cards and then using them to, kill the opponent. But that's not the only way. We're not just trying to get the opponent down to 0 with Froghemoths attacking, because that's just, you get them removed. But that's why we've got a lot of ways of saving our Froghemoths. And if Orvar is in play, every time that we use one of these ways of saving our Froghemoths or Grolnok or any of our other creatures, they will get a copy. That is a token. It's a copy of that permanent. So Snakeskin Veil and You See a God Approach both give our creatures hexproof and are targeted spells. So whenever you if your opponent with some black removal, some red removal, targets your Froghemoth, you have Orvar in play. You Snakeskin Veil your Froghemoth. Not only does it grow bigger, you also get another one, because that's what Orvar does. So we can get this pretty big Froghemoth army, and that's one of the plans. We've also got Decisive Denial, which doubles as the fight spell we just had in the previous deck, so we can target one of our creatures and then have it fight one of the opponent's creatures. If Orvar is in play, we get another one of those creatures. I quite like just sometimes doubling up a bunch of these little Needlethorn Drakes, which is a great little 2-drop with Death Touch, just to stall, block important creatures, make it so the opponent maybe doesn't want to attack through it for a little while. You gain a couple of turns while you build up your plan. We are trying out these 2 new 2-drops that I've never pretty much played. Gretchen Twitch Willow. They're just in here to draw us a little bit of cards, and they kind of work in similar ways. So Gretchen Twitch Willow is a great 0/4 blocker, first of all. Nice 2-drop with 4 booty. Is can block a couple of Lunar Aspirants for a few turns and things like that. But then you can pay 4 mana and you draw a card. And you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, regardless of whether that card that you drew is a land or not. As long as you have a land in your hand and you pay the 4, you can play the land and draw a card. That's pretty okay. And Simone, the Quandrix prodigy from Strixhaven, does a similar thing, but it's a 2 different costs. And she's only a 1/2. And legendary, so I guess so is Gretchen, so that's why I went for 2 of each. You may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped for 1 mana, or you can pay 4 and draw a card, and if you control 8 or more lands, you can draw 2 cards instead. So slightly different, but very similar kind of cards. So let's see which one performs better. We might just end up putting like 3 of the one and cutting the other completely, thus leaving space for something else as we adjust. Then again, I went for Sword Coming as a hard counter. And there's one sneaky copy of Jadzi at the top end. And there's a lot of like little cheap spells that we can cast, which make it so that we can actually get this Magecraft on Jadzi to proc. This is just another one of those cards that everybody thought was going to be insane. It does cost 8 to cast, okay? That's probably why it ended up really not seeing that much play. But there's just a one-off in here. Even if you play her on turn 8, you can discard a card. As long as you've got a card in hand, you can save her from targeted removal and sweepers and things like that. You just return it to your hand, play her again the next turn. And then the next turn, as long as you have a few of these cheap spells in hand, not only are you making copies, with Orvar and all the other stuff I've just described, you're also proccing the Magecraft, which means that you get to look at the top card of your library, and if it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost. So we can start storming off and playing stuff off the top of our library for free. And if it's a land card, you put it onto the battlefield. And yeah, I mean, that's the brew. The only card I haven't touched on is the Augmented Pugilist, which we often play as just a 3-drop, 3/3 with trample that can eventually become a 5/5. Because we did need just like some stuff to get in the way of Orvar or blockers and things, because we don't really want to be blocking with our Orvar and Grommax, because they just kind of just need to be there for their text box. So the backside, though, occasionally gets cast, and that's pretty sweet. You can choose the target creature you control, and each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn. So not only does everything become a frog, and as long as you have a Grommack, you know, you can do the mill thing pretty. Just be careful you don't mill yourself, or you can just, you know, select Froghemoth and make a bunch of Froghemoths, or you can pick another Augmented Pugilist. It's also got trample, swinging for the kill, or you can pick a, you know, Needlethorn Drex and get it in the air. There's lots of things you can do with the Echoing Equation, but most of the time we're just casting the Pugilist. Alrighty, that's the brew. We've got one Campus, one Mirror Lake as like the weird things, and of course, you know, some creature lands, but then the rest is just the usual. Let's jump into some games with this one, see if it performs any better on the unranked ladder. Jadsy's Frogs. Then I want to maybe play a couple games with the Angelic Voyage, although I think I might just save that one for a proper video. I went and looked back in my logs. I've been doing an Angelic Voyage video every 3 months. So this is kind of like the 3rd iteration, and I want to keep this as a trend. I really like Angels as a tribe, and it's got, you know, better and better actually. And I think it actually has the potential of getting some good wins in Standard even, so. Zimone in the Hizzle. We've got the potential of a pretty sweet thing happening here, as long as nothing too ridiculous happens. It'd be nice to... Ooh. Tamer. Cobra. I think this is where we hold up a counter spell rather than play out the Drake, just to see what happens. Yeah, it's fine. Otherwise, I'm just gonna... This is how you're supposed to use Zimone. It's my understanding. This is an obscene amount of ramp here, though. Ooh. Ooh. Another card that I need to build around. I just saw this earlier. This is a cool card. Alright, so let's see if he attacks. End step, we tap the Zimone. Put a land, tapped. Oh, my turn. Cool. Let's hold up the counter again. Though this seems to be pretty creature decky. You get to draw a card whenever you target itself. I've got a good idea for this deck. Imagine if it was dragon as a creature type and not Drake. But anyway. Draw a card for 4. Okay, let's just pass the turn. Play a bit reactive. We're either going to draw a card or counter something. So. Huh. Skadoosh. You don't have 3 mana, my dear fellow. Wow, just wow. No land game. Okay. Ready. See what I mean about these drakes stalling though. Finally! But none of our save spells though. I think we just keep doing the same thing. For now we're okay. And we can try and draw some cards with Zimone. Get to that point where we have 6 mana, so we can hold up a sword coming and draw a card with Zimone at the opponent's end step. Those are good things. I wonder what he's ramping into. I bet you he's just trying to draw a Koma or something. Boop. Boop. My goodness, this is insanity. Where are my lands at? Sure. No wasting a counter spell on that. You still die. I have a feeling he's got more of this nonsense. And that isn't the worst of it. Because it's all supposed to be targeting him. I'm sure his deck's filled with that stuff. And he did. Now let's see if he's still got some big thing up his sleeve and he baited out that counter from me. I think we're just gonna go into the Froghemoth now. Maybe lead with the Orvar. Or tell Sword coming. Or even better. Orvar. Hotel. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a weird game. I think we're both trying to like draw into our big like bombs. 2, 4, 6, 7. We're almost gonna have a 5/5 for 3 mana. I think let's just pass the turn, hold up the counter, get ready to draw a card. And I almost never play decks like this. It's really not my style. There's nothing in standard that requires that much mana. He's just... I guess he might have a Hullbreaker Horror. Three mana, 8/8 deployed. Let's keep doing the draw and potential. Choose target creature. Yeah, we're gonna get a copy. This is the first time I get to try this, so let's see. I hope he doesn't have a counter. So Orvar makes a copy, and then all the other guys become like the pugilist. Oh baby. Let's swing. So that's WinCon number 1. Illustrated. I mean, he might have a Hullbreaker Horror that he can flash in and block one of them, but I think that's still GG. 816, 32, 40. 40 damage with trample. Nice. Nice. I mean, really weird match. The opponent pretty much played nothing. He was just playing lands. But at least we got to illustrate one of the potential win cons. It's pretty fun. You can get that to happen. Bunch of 8/8s coming at you. Round 2, fight. Let's get some frog drawing things with Grolnark happening. How are we doing for time? Ooh. Okay, well, this one's going to be an hour long. And make up for the fact that I was a bit late with this upload. Argoth 87. My year. There's Grolnark. Got some stuff, some things I like on the draw. Draw a land. Be good. Another Pugilista. By the way, how do you guys order your, your hand? And I'll know who watches to the end from the amount of comments I get in the down below. But I usually go from most expensive to cheapest, left to right, and then the lands behind the biggest, the most expensive. So, boop. 5, 4, 3, 1. Sometimes these cards at 2 casting costs ruin my feng shui. It makes me a little bit annoyed, but the agreed upon. Oh my god, this is so boring. Okay, Fading Hope is our only hope, and we don't even have it in this deck. Ah! Okay, GG. Here comes the Valkyrie. Alright, oops. Get fucked. On to the next match. Clerics are just everywhere. That Voice of the Blessed is really what kicked it off. And then the stuff that came out in Alchemy just supercharged. They were already poised. It was already tier 2, in my opinion, before all of that nonsense. And then the Alchemy captain guy also having the cleric type. It's ridiculous how strong the brew is. But it's taken a little bit of a second place. A lot of guys got a lot of success with it in the qualifier and the arena open and things, but it's still the but the best decks right now, at least as far as Untapped GG is concerned, are like Boros Dragons or Rakdos Dragons, actually. Esper Control. I don't know about this hand, but whatever. It's unranked. Let's keep it. I've decided, instead of being too much all over the place, the plan is to go and play the other Simic Wet Dog deck that we didn't get to play the other day, because I just felt it was a little bit underperforming for standard, but I actually got like 5 straight wins and unranked with it, so it's more than I can say for this current brew. First strike deals with the Drake, unfortunately, so we can't block the flyer. I want to show you Wet Dog. Let's stick to the Simic trend. I think when all is said and done by the end of this video, we are going to be able to say quite clearly that Wet Dog is the better deck of the 3 that I've shown you. I'm going to switch it back to... And I've still got the non-alchemy version. I've got... There we go. Boop. To quickly show you again, for those of you who missed that video, it was also in the video description as kind of a bonus brew. It's a very low to the ground Simic tempo wolf tribal deck. It's like, just sounds amazing. Couldn't get more BrewLab than that. And we've trimmed down the lands because it's such a low curve down to 20, which has been fine so far. And we've got a full playset of the Snarling Wolf to, you know, have a 1-drop wolf, which is great because we always try to follow it up with Packsong Pup on turn 2, which gets a +1/+1 counter on it if you have a wolf in play at the beginning of combat, and you know, you get to get the trigger straight away the moment it comes into play is really nice. So that's why I got the pup, and in the alchemy version I just swapped this out for, sorry, the wolf. I put the pup in here in the alchemy one, and it actually works a lot better. Pardon me. It's better than the Ascendant Pack Leader in a brew like this because we've got no 4-drops that are ever going to grow the Ascendant Pack Leader, so there's really no point in playing it. It's a 2-1. This is a 1-1 that can become a 3-3. It's just better than the Ascendant Pack Leader in this brew. Then we've got stuff to save our creatures. We've got 2 copies of Lunar Rejection, which started the whole idea because it's a clearly wolf-themed cleave card from Val. You can return Wolf or Werewolf to its owner's hand and draw a card. So it's kind of a way of saving one of our important creatures, and then you can recast it the following turn and drawing a card for 2 mana instant speed. Or you can play it for 4 mana and do it to one of the opponent's things and bounce that and still draw a card. So a bit of card draw and very versatile card, which I would like to maybe go after 3 of, but I'm still deciding what to trim. But other than Lunar Rejection, we've also got Wild Shape to give something hexproof, but it's also nice to give something trample or reach. So I like this. Again, versatility is the name of the game. And the same can be said of Syncopate, which scales really well. This can be just like a turn 2 kind of Jawari Disruption style thing. But you know, where the opponent plays their 2-drop and you just pay 1x and they can't play their 2-drop. But also, like, really late game, you can dump all your mana that you have into the X cost and counter bigger and bigger things. So really versatile. Again, then we're drawing some cards by the Suspicious Stowaway. Again, coming back in this brew. Really like this card. Trying to get it to nighttime. We've got a few ways of doing that. There's the Suspicious Stowaway as well as the Outland Liberator on turn 2. Everything else is from previous sets that did not include that mechanic. We've already talked about the pup, which is our life gain. As usual, BrewLab style, we've got to have some card draw, we've got to have some life gain, and you know, some interaction. So this is how we're gaining a bit of life. If it gets big enough and eventually gets killed, boop, we gain life equal to its power when it dies. Other way that we have of growing the Packsong Pup and everything else that we have, because we want, it's a very low to the ground deck. Sometimes these creatures are too small. We have a few ways in the deck, which I'll get to in a moment, to make these creatures bigger. It's kind of mono white style, where, you know, they have the Luminarch Aspirin, and even though they're mostly just running 2-drops with like 2 or 3 toughness, they can, make those creatures bigger. Oh, and the new white 2-drop that's so busted, the Adversary. Got Intrepid Adversary, so good. But Ranger class is also really good. I don't really need to reintroduce this card. Also great at level 3 for, card advantage. Werewolf Pack Leader, also drawing us some cards, potentially if we have Pack Tactics. Then I went for a full playset of Decisive Denial as a fight spell, but doubling as a counter. We've already seen this one. Bird Admirer to block some flyers. When it's nighttime, this can block Goldspan Dragons, and that's really, really nice. And then the main card of the deck, we're trying to get it to be nighttime, so it gives all of our wolves and werewolves trample. Grow a few of these guys a little bit bigger. Of course, the Suspicious Stowaway is unblockable, so if you keep putting the Ranger class tokens counters on the Suspicious Stowaway, and you have this unblockable guy that gets bigger and bigger, and then whenever they try to remove it, you wild shape and comes back and keeps on doing so, is really, really good. Of course, we have the last card in the deck, which helps that even more, and it's great against mono white because they're trying to double cast every turn. In a lot of the variants, especially the guys that are playing the Clarion Spirit and stuff like that, they want to play two 1-drops or 1-1-drop and 2-drop every turn. And whenever they do that, we get a 2/2 wolf creature token. The other nice thing is against control decks that are mostly casting their spells during your turn. This also triggers, so it's whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, which is pretty nice. You sometimes get a wolf token out of them during your turn when they're countering your stuff or whatever, and removing your stuff, bouncing your stuff. At least you get a little wolfy guy out of it. So yeah, that's the brew. It's kind of similar to the first one, except we were using the Sunrise deck to do a similar thing, give everybody trample and a little buff. We're doing that with the Untamed Pup, and Howling Moon gives, at the beginning of combat on your turn, one of your wolves a +2/+2, and then everybody has trample. You've grown everything a little bit with the Ranger class, and then you just swing in for the kill. And it's very simple, but it's quick and it's fun. And let's jump into some games to close off this Simic-themed day. Wet Dog. Oh. Down. Is that a 1? No, that's a J or something. An I. Great hand. Great hand. Even better. And boop. Nice. Very nice. Kind of exactly what we want to be happening. We hold back our other creatures. Boop. Give you +2/+2. That's a very nice turn 3 swing, if I do say so myself. You can also now already gain a bit of life there. It's probably going to be... Okay. Interesting. I actually was looking at this card. I like it. Let's go with the double cast. Of course. Of course. Okay, let's just get rid of that. That's why the Liberator is in the deck. Oh no. Nice. What a comeback. Was not expecting a burn down a house. That's a big boy. We can win next turn though. If he attacks, fight spell. No, we don't have to. Oh, that's gonna be game, I think. Would. Unbelievable. What a bad bit of luck. That's GG. Alright. Close. We were doing things. Will that burn on the house? We needed to have a counter spell up, but Decisive Denial was nowhere to be seen. And so I was just tapping out every turn. Crank. What I'll do is I'll put all 3 brews in the video description, and I'll probably just upload Wet Dog to either hub. It's just my favorite of the 3. I think it's the one that has the most potential. Let's go Stowaway into Pup, and then hold up counter. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Pup into Stowaway, but we've got to back up. Hello, good game. Le Simic Mirror is very good. Gonna let it go to nighttime next turn and hold up the aforementioned potential interactions. Oh wow. Okay. Green. Non-snow. Don't think it's... Okay. Gonna play out one more thing. I'm ready for ya. Cranky. With the Sultai, weird things happening. Okay, he lets it go tonight. That is key. Let's see if there's a counter here. Zivale. Very nice. Draw the scar. Stairs daytime. We get to draw another card now. Come on. Do it. I know you want to. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I know it's my go. Thank you. Let's go wide then. I'm gonna let it all through. Still daytime. Second game we see the Drake. Land. Come on. What do we get? Let's throw some lands away. Go to the one drop. Still daytime. Hotels. Ooh, wonder what that could be. But he can discard this and have it for its disturb cost. Nice. Now we're talking, baby. Sure. Very annoying, but fine. I will still draw 3 cards. In total. Boop. And I will have a second one of these to cast. Seems like we're gonna end on a victory, but anything can happen. Well, it seems like it could be very hard for the opponent to come back from this. Ooh, another card I haven't played with. This could work well in the one where we're trying to have a card with flashback. But it's just like, it doesn't have a huge flashback cost, so the whole point of that, you know, the mana dork from the first deck. Winterhorn Blessing. Marvelous. Just marvelous. It's game over, no? You got to cast Lunar Rejection. That's just great. That's just great. Maybe he targets something and we use another Lunar Rejection. Got him. Alright. That's going to be it for this Simic themed video, what ended up being a Simic themed video. As I'm filming this during the day, there's a good chance that I will have a chance to record another video tonight based on tiredness levels and child earliness to sleep levels. But what I mentioned yesterday was that the Boros Whelp deck that I made was going to kick off a bit of a meta week. We're going to check in on the top meta decks and see if there's anything that we can do to change them, upgrade them at all, or are they completely just locked in stone right now? And of course, show you guys some gameplay footage with the best decks in format. If you're keen on that sort of stuff, please let me know in the comments. But I'm going to plow on ahead regardless. So tonight's video, we've already done Mono White, we've done Boros Whelps, so 1 Alchemy, 1 Standard. I think we're going to switch back to Alchemy and check in with the other top meta deck and perhaps play a little bit of Esper Control, which is outside of my usual comfort zone and should make for some great content. So don't forget to tune in for that. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, guys.